Your NFT drop cost $900 and died in 3 months. The car wash you almost didn't buy cleared $890 in its first 30 days, from a woman too tired to want more than a down payment and a monthly check. That's the entire net worth, at 29, of a shift supervisor bringing home $3,180 a month at a regional warehouse. You, with a cracked windshield and $640 sitting untouched in savings. You've already lost money 2 other ways trying to look clever. A phone case store that sold 4 units in 3 months. A coaching page that never converted 1 follower into a client. Then, on a slow Tuesday during mandatory overtime, a podcast host says something that irritates you before it changes you. Most people with real, quiet net worth aren't running anything glamorous at all. They're running the businesses nobody wants to talk about at a barbecue. Boring isn't the downside. Boring is the moat, the thing that eliminates every ambitious, easily distracted competitor before they ever walk through the door. You're about to hide in plain sight. You find a plain 4-bay wash on the edge of town, run for 11 years by a woman named Rosalind, who's finally ready to retire near her grandchildren. Listed at $274,000, real net income near $58,000 a year. But the number that actually gets you in the door is that Rosalind is exhausted, not that the wash is cheap. You put $19,500 down, financed mostly by selling the pickup, and finance the rest through her directly over 6 years, and keep her 1 part-time attendant on staff so the sale feels safe to her. You aren't buying equipment and a lease. You're buying the tiredness of a 60-something owner who wants a small down payment and a monthly check more than she wants a tax-heavy lump sum from a stranger. And that exhaustion becomes your leverage. What you don't say out loud is that the soap and the brushes are almost beside the point. The real asset is the half-acre of land underneath them, appreciating quietly every year, its mortgage and taxes paid automatically by strangers washing their cars, waiting for a developer to eventually make the land itself worth more than the business ever was. Month 1 nets you $890. It's the first money you've ever made that didn't require another hour of your body being somewhere. 6 months later, Rosalind's landlord, Denham, mentions he owns an old laundromat 2 blocks over he's tired of dealing with. You buy it for $165,000, seller financed the same way the car wash was, net income already sitting near $3,900 a month before you've touched a single machine. You don't sell people clean clothes. You sell a captive 45-minute window where a customer is physically trapped in a room with nothing to do but stare at a dryer. So you put a vending machine by the dryers and watch it outperform every soda machine you've ever seen. You're not monetizing laundry. You're monetizing boredom itself. 1 quarter and 1 candy bar at a time off a customer who was never going anywhere for the next 3/4 of an hour, regardless of what you sold them. While walking one of Denham's buildings, you notice a half-empty vending machine nobody's touched in years. You track down the semi-retired operator and buy 3 machines outright for $4,150. You don't get rich by doubling prices. That gets noticed. That triggers the exact hesitation you're trying to avoid. You get rich by raising a snack 23 cents at a time, a shift small enough that no brain flags it as a decision worth resisting, sitting quietly under the emotional radar most people reserve for anything that actually feels like spending money. By month 10, 4 machines clear $1,310 a month in profit nobody ever consciously agreed to pay, spread across hundreds of transactions too small for anyone to ever add up. A property tenant complains her pest technician never shows up on schedule. You find him, planning to retire, no successor lined up, and buy his route outright for $11,000. His equipment, his 64 clients, 3 months of training on a job you know nothing about. You're not betting on a trend the way the NFT drop was a bet on a trend. You're betting on the fact that bugs will always come back, lawns will always grow, and homes will always decay, whether or not anyone's watching, profiting off entropy instead of hype. Within a year, the route nets $1,890 a month. And because every one of those 64 homes sits inside 2 zip codes, your technician spends almost no time driving and almost all of it billing. An invisible fence of route density nobody else in town can cross without years of the same slow accumulation of the exact same neighbourhoods. Denham, still overwhelmed, hands you a few tasks off his plate for a flat fee. Within 2 months, word has spread through his small circle of landlord friends, and you're managing 22 doors across town at $85 each. $1,870 a month gross, without owning a single brick or a single pipe. You never buy real estate. You just become the bridge between exhausted landlords and the 2 a.m. plumbing call. Every rich person you know is too comfortable to take themselves taxing their fatigue $91 at a time, 1 door at a time, across every property you'll never technically own. You don't build one from scratch. Instead, you take retained cash the laundromat has been quietly stacking up and use it to fund a 15% minority share in a partnership with a local landowner. He contributes the acreage, you contribute the construction capital, and agree to run all day-to-day operations. You never once touch a physical box or a padlock. The real product isn't storage at all, it's procrastination. People will pay $137 a month for years on furniture worth less than $50 because letting go of the past hurts more than an automated card charge ever will. It's a tax on human attachment, collected quietly every month from someone who told themselves back in March this was the month they'd finally clear it out. By the end of the first year, your 15% share alone is clearing $640 a month, funded entirely by cash a laundromat generated while you weren't looking. By year 6, you add the darkest and simplest asset on the list, a half-acre lot near the courthouse, repainted with fresh white lines for $6,400. No plumbing to break, no inventory to steal, nothing to manage except a gate and a sign. People don't pay you for a parking spot. They pay you so their car doesn't get towed. It's recurring revenue built entirely on fear, and it runs itself while you're asleep, generating more per square foot than half the businesses you looked at years earlier and dismissed as too complicated. None of the 7 years that got you here look impressive compressed into a paragraph. There's a 6-week stretch around month 14 when 2 vacuum stations fail the same week, a tenant vanishes without paying rent, and you're the one climbing into a crawl space at 6 a.m. before your warehouse shift starts at 9. Nobody puts that part in the summary. What actually gets you through it isn't motivation. It's the fact that even in the worst week, the deposits still land, because you never bought anything that needed you to feel inspired in order to keep collecting. The car wash takes cash from strangers who don't know or care that a vacuum's broken. The Pest clients pay their $54 whether or not you feel like showing up that particular morning, because the invoice goes out on its own. By 36, after 7 years of buying tired owners instead of chasing shiny ideas, the car wash alone appraises near $310,000. The property management book is worth roughly $94,000 on a standard multiple. The Pest route would fetch close to $71,000 sold today. Add the laundromat, the vending route, the storage share still quietly paying out $640 a month, the parking lot, and retained cash sitting in index funds you never once had to actively watch, and your net worth crosses $1.4 million during your 36th year, without one dramatic headline attached to any of it. You still drive a used truck. You still shop the same way you always have. And when someone at a dinner party asks what you do, you say some property stuff, a car wash, little of this and that. Technically true, and still nowhere near the whole shape of it. Nobody follows up. Nobody ever does. Because the answer is boring enough that the conversation just moves on to somebody else's more interesting week. The real wealth was never in the 7 businesses themselves. It was in choosing 7 separate times to be too boring for anyone to ever think to ask a second question.